Hey folks, Kenny with Wildboard Studio, and today we're going to talk about putting those scraps to good use. I have these black walnut live edge cutoffs that would typically go straight to the burn pit or the trash, but there's still money to be squeezed out of these suckers. We'll start by removing all the bark from each piece, and lucky for me, it's coming off pretty easy. I've had times where it's been a real challenge. With all the bark removed, we're going to move over to the jointer to flatten and square up each piece. This is a pretty critical step in the milling process, as it's going to ensure all the following cuts are going to be square. It would be a total shame to discard this. Now we're going to move it over to the bandsaw to remove the live edge portion of each piece. Keeping in mind, we want to preserve as much usable material as possible per piece. And based on the thickness of the usable material, I'll go ahead and set my bandsaw fence to match. And because all these pieces are of varying thicknesses, I'll have to make a slight adjustment for each cut. Because the bandsaw cuts aren't perfect, we're going to take it over to the planer to flatten it and square it up. Remember, I already ran the bottom face over the jointer, so I know these passes are going to be perfectly parallel and square. Most planers tend to leave a little bit of snipe at the end of the workpiece, and the options are to cut it off or clean it up. I choose to clean it up through the drum sander. This way I can preserve as much material as possible. With this material, I'm planning to produce the Wildboard Studio half-paddle spatula scrapers. So I'll go ahead and set my table saw fence to that width and rip every single piece down to size. Keeping in mind that, depending on the thickness of the working material, I will lower the blade just above that thickness. Now I now have some perfectly milled black walnut that will be ideal for my spatula scrapers. And prior to this, it was just sitting, taking up space in the shop, collecting dust. I ended up using just over half of that material to produce these spatulas. The other half will likely go to the javelina end grain or the pronghorn end grain cutting boards. And in case you're interested, these sell for $24 each at wildboardstudio.com. So feel free to do the math on the value of those cutoffs. Thanks for watching.
Mississippi shore.